I've helped brands scale past 7 figures, I've consulted more than a dozen startups, and every year the marketing playbook changes. For example, most likely in 2026, you're not gonna need a huge paid ads budget. So, in this video, I'm breaking down 5 biggest marketing trends for 2026 you need to jump on right now before your competition does. And trend number 1 is brand marketing. I feel like over the last few years, brand marketing sort of has been on the decline. After 2020 and the economic slowdown, a lot of companies put this on hold. But just recently, it feels like the situation has improved a little bit simply because there is now more tools for marketers to be able to attribute the impact of brand ads on your leads and on your pipeline and of course revenue, not just impressions. That's why we can see more and more brands investing in things like brand ads, be it on Meta or LinkedIn ads, or even running billboard ads on the New York subway, not just because it's fun, but because they can actually prove its impact. By the way, if you want to be on top of trends like this, subscribe to my weekly marketing newsletter. The link is in the description below. And trend number 2 is the power of organic. I think we're about to see a huge return of organic content and its power. So the type of content that simply educates and entertains the audience without any need to pay for each click. And I feel like there are 2 key reasons for this. Reason number 1 is overall, it gets extremely competitive and expensive to rely on paid ads alone. For example, Google got more than $1 billion in ad dollars in just 1 quarter from Booking.com just a few years ago. So the space is incredibly competitive, and in general, costs per clicks are rising, and it gets more and more to be able to achieve any results. And however, once you introduce organic content, your overall customer acquisition cost massively drops. And second reason is obviously AI has lowered the barrier to enter the content marketing game and to improve your power of organic. For example, you can just now repurpose just one idea into a blog content, an email, and a series of posts for social with just one person and one AI tool. So in 2026, we should see more brands investing in organic content and doubling down on their blog and organic social. But before we move on, I want to focus on something that never goes out of style, and this is email marketing. So even as new channels rise, email consistently delivers the highest ROI. And Omnisend, who is currently sponsoring this video, has the data to actually prove it. So their users see an average of $68 for every $1 spent. What's even cooler, their automations, such as, for example, their welcome email or cart abandonment flows that you can create, make up just 2% of total emails, but they drive 37% of all email sales. So if you're serious about your growth in 2026, this is your reminder. Please build your email list right now. Omnisend actually offers 24/7 support and migration help in case you're using another email provider. They also have award-winning customer support from a real human, by the way, and the tool is trusted by more than 150,000 businesses and rated at 4.7 stars. Use my link in the description to get 30% off your first 3 months using the code ELENA30. Another trend we're gonna be facing is community-led growth. I think this is one of the most shifts that we are seeing right now. Of course, if it works for your niche and for your business, because it doesn't work for any business out there, but community can actually not just, improve your engagement and overall visibility. It can help your brand get featured by the largest LLM models such as ChatGPT or Perplexity, because it's been proven that, for example, mentions in niche communities on Reddit have a positive impact on how your brand gets featured by different types of LLMs in general. Of course, we've already seen examples from big brands that are doing it well, like Notion, who has built a massive global community of their power users, who then just create templates, share workflows, and then teach each other how to use the product Figma also did the same, for example. So they turned design collaboration into some type of a culture, really. Their community events, plugins, and, for example, online groups have actually become one of their biggest growth engines. And Duolingo, of course, they built a whole identity and a community around challenges, streaks, and shared progress. Founder-led content. I think we've already been seeing how this trend has been reshaping especially the B2B space. And high-quality B2B content these days doesn't come just from brands, but it comes from founders behind those companies. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Nowadays, people are tired of just, boring corporate faceless logos, and they want some real human interactions. We've also seen that so-called thought leader ads on LinkedIn, which is basically when your brand promotes a post from a real human. So those kind of ads have a CTR of more than 10% on average, whereas any other normal type of an ad might have 1% of the CTR or even less. Chris Walker from Refined Labs, quite an old example, but still, he practically built his entire company around his personal brand because his post educated thousands of marketers and positioned his company as a thought leader in the eyes of other marketers. And it doesn't also happen with a startup or a small business who is growing from scratch. It also works for huge players. For example, HubSpot's founder and CTO is another great example. His presence on LinkedIn and Twitter gives HubSpot this sort of human voice in an otherwise very corporate space. I'm convinced that this trend will only grow in 2026 and onward, simply because organic reach is growing on LinkedIn. And of course, again, AI has made it super easy for founders. They can just record, let's say, a 10-minute interview with themselves, most likely work with a ghostwriter, and then just have weeks of content ahead. Sustainability and purpose-driven branding. Younger consumers simply want to live longer, and they care about climate change, about global warming, and they expect brands to have a transparent sustainability narrative. So expect more brands to use this narrative in their branding and marketing efforts in general. Of course, we've seen a lot of brands already doing that for years, both online and offline. Patagonia is a good example. They've basically built their entire identity around environmental responsibility. And recently they've announced that Earth is now their only shareholder. But there is another layer emerging here, which is digital sustainability. So brands are starting to track and reduce the carbon footprint of their websites, emails, and of course data storage. Because even small optimizations like lighter website design, cleaner code, and efficient hosting, they can all make a real difference when you have millions of users. And in tech, for example, Microsoft is really leading the way. So they're committing to become carbon negative by 2030, and they're also optimizing their data centers for energy efficiency. I believe that in 2026 and onwards, this type of communication won't be optional anymore, and any brand that is actively measuring and communicating the impact of their actions on sustainability, be it our global warming and digital sustainability as well, would be really the ones who truly stand out. That's it for today, but if you want to know what AI tools you should be using already today, not in 2026, to be able to actually save more than 10 hours per week as a marketer, continue watching this next video.